Harry and Meghan Markle's surrogacy scandal has entered the mainstream media domain.
It sounds fake.
What if one of the most celebrated royal births wasn't what we were told? The moment Meghan Markle and Prince Harry announced Archie's arrival, the palace wanted the world to see it as a fairy tale. But the cracks in that story are impossible to ignore. For years, they've spun it as a fight for privacy, secrecy, and independence from the crown. Yet the whispers got louder, the rumors messier, and the receipts are starting to pile up.
It was a dreadful thing to do, and actually completely wrong.
Some people online straight up believe her children aren't even real, saying they look like AI babies in photos. Others claim the secrecy around the birth wasn't about protecting privacy at all, but about covering up contradictions that don't add up. And when you put the pieces together, it's not just unusual, it feels shady. Who hides the details of a royal birth unless there's something bigger lurking in the shadows?
Take a listen.
This scandal comes as no surprise. Speculation about the children has been simmering for years.
Behind those hospital doors, something wasn't right. Even critics who normally defend Meghan have admitted it was a dreadful thing to do and actually completely wrong. That alone sets off alarm bells. The palace might have stayed quiet, but silence doesn't erase suspicion. It just makes the questions louder. And now stepping right into the center of the firestorm is none other than Candace Owens. Known for her brutal takedowns, she's not letting this slide. After watching just a 10-second clip of Meghan's supposed pregnancy details, Candace exploded, saying it instantly enraged her. She's calling out what she believes are glaring contradictions, and she's daring the world to look closer at the timeline.
I was instantly enraged from this 10-second clip. It just annoyed me.
One thing's clear. This isn't just another tabloid rumor. This is a full-blown scandal brewing with receipts, contradictions, and voices refusing to stay quiet. The contradictions are so wild, they've left medical professionals and royal insiders straight up baffled. From Prince Harry's own memoir to whispers from hospital staff, the official timeline doesn't just feel unusual, it feels almost impossible. How do you square all these details when none of them line up?
Does it make you sound like a better mom? It makes you sound like really kind of into yourself in a way?
Harry himself painted the picture in his book, describing the birth in a way that raised eyebrows from the start. He goes into detail, but the more closely you look, the less sense it makes. People are asking, was he trying too hard to convince the world or accidentally revealing things that don't add up? 2 epidurals allegedly given in one short labor, something experts say is highly unlikely. A rapid hospital discharge that doesn't match normal procedures for a first-time mother.
This crisis won't die down until the irrefutable truth comes out.
And the strangest part, conflicting explanations for why the press, who traditionally waits outside for royal baby announcements, wasn't notified in time. Even palace reporters who've seen dozens of royal births unfold admitted this one was off-script, murky, and downright suspicious. It's not just nitpicking details, it's a timeline that collapses under its own contradictions. Each new fact only raises another question, and the insiders who were there are still scratching their heads about how any of this could have played out the way Harry and Meghan claim. Put these puzzle pieces together, and the picture stops looking like a fairy tale royal birth. It starts looking like a maze of mixed stories that keeps getting harder to ignore.
He describes her very well, and he does this by taking a look.
Absolute media manipulation. But I thought tonight this was really ridiculous.
The timeline is messy, the explanations shift, and the smooth palace version of events keeps bumping into rough edges that will not go away. Here is the real kicker. If even a slice of this narrative falls apart under basic scrutiny, the whole thing changes tone from private and sweet to confusing and suspicious in seconds. Critics point to the press alerts that came late, the ultra-fast discharge, and the back and forth over what the public was allowed to know. And they are asking why these details never line up cleanly. If it was simply a privacy choice, why do the facts read like a patchwork instead of a straight line?
Buckingham Palace is being pressured to remove Prince Archie and Princess Elizabeth from the UK's royal line of succession until the Duchess provides absolute proof that she popped out both babies herself.
So what exactly was the royal machine protecting, and why did it need so much cover at every turn? If the inconsistencies are real, then the public might not just feel misled, they might feel played. And that is a serious trust issue for Meghan, Harry, and the millions who cheered Archie's arrival in good faith. No one needs wild accusations about a child. The questions are aimed at the adults who controlled the story and kept changing the terms. Before anyone jumps to conclusions, let's talk receipts. Clean and simple. We will stack the timeline, look at the statements, compare the hospital chatter to the official version, and match what was promised against what actually showed up in public. Once the evidence is laid out piece by piece, you might never look at this royal chapter the same way again. The timeline in Harry's own memoir might have exposed way more than the couple ever meant to reveal. In his best-selling book, Harry proudly recalls Meghan giving birth to Archie at the luxury Portland hospital, spinning it like a royal blockbuster, elegant, dramatic, and dripping with resilience.
Like, why lie? It was just so truly bizarre.
He describes Meghan supposedly enduring not one, but 2 epidurals before making a quick, glamorous exit with their newborn in just a matter of hours. On the surface, it sounds like the perfect "she conquered it all" story, crafted to dazzle the world. But here's the problem. When doctors, nurses, and even experienced mothers took a closer look, the fairy tale cracks wide open. Medical experts immediately raised red flags about the epidural claims. 2 epidurals in one short labor? That's not just unusual, that's nearly unheard of without complications. And if complications did exist, why did the couple frame the entire ordeal as seamless and flawless? The details don't add up, and people are starting to wonder whether Harry's own words created more suspicion than clarity.
Why would you do that? That's not necessary.
Silence everybody and just produce a DNA sample or proof of delivery.
It's like she's playing a human being, like it's a performance.
The story of a woman powering through labor with multiple epidurals and then walking out of the hospital just hours later sounds cinematic, but in real life, it's a timeline that doesn't sit right with professionals. Obstetricians have gone on record saying it's highly unlikely, and mothers online instantly called it out as unrealistic. Instead of silencing rumors, Harry's version of events seems to have poured gasoline on them, sparking a new wave of questions about what really happened behind the doors of Portland Hospital. Let's get one thing straight. An epidural isn't just some quick painkiller you pop in and out of. It's a full medical procedure that involves carefully inserting a catheter near the spinal cord. Once it's in, doctors monitor it closely because switching it mid-labor isn't just rare, it's risky.
It bothers me first because it's a lie. She's not in the hospital trying to induce labor by twerking. The hospital will not give you a bed because you're trying to induce labor. You are not allowed to.
Experts say the idea of Meghan casually receiving 2 epidurals during one short labor already sets off alarms. That's not routine medicine. That's a scenario doctors only attempt if something is going seriously wrong. And then comes the part that really made professionals shake their heads. The recovery timeline. Harry claims Meghan was back home, cozy and resting with Archie, within 2 hours of delivery. 2 hours? Medical staff point out that even in uncomplicated births, most mothers are observed for at least a full day before being discharged, sometimes longer with an epidural involved. You're monitored for blood pressure, infection risk, spinal complications, things you simply can't rush. Yet in Harry's telling, Meghan's story reads like she went from labor to hospital gown to a luxury home setting almost instantly. And here's where it gets even stranger. The Portland hospital is known for strict procedures. Privacy, yes, but safety first. Staff insiders insist that this type of whirlwind exit doesn't line up with policy, let alone medical common sense. So if Harry's version isn't backed by what's standard practice, the question becomes obvious. What actually happened in that delivery room?
Put up a camera, fixate it, and then both of you start twerking. Because in her mind, she was thinking, I'm gonna release this later in a Netflix doc or release it later to show people how relatable I am. Otherwise, you can have a cute moment with your husband without recording it. Like, why would you record this for any reason? Why would you record this in the hospital?
Here's where the math flat out collapses. The Portland Hospital is in the heart of central London, while Frogmore Cottage, Meghan and Harry's home, sits a long drive away. Factor in discharge paperwork, newborn safety checks, pain management, and the physical toll of labor, and the timeline Harry describes just doesn't add up. Even under the smoothest, best-case scenario, it feels rushed, glossed over, and way too convenient to be real. And that brings us to the million-dollar question. Why push a version of events that medical professionals say doesn't line up with reality? If this timeline is off, then what else in their carefully curated birth story is misleading? Because once you start pulling at the threads, the contradictions only multiply. Even hospital insiders have spoken up, saying Meghan's supposed behavior during labor would have been a non-starter. One blunt comment that's been circulating puts it like this. She's not in the hospital trying to induce labor by twerking. The hospital will not give you a bed because you're trying to induce labor. You are not allowed to. That one statement alone makes the whole narrative sound like smoke and mirrors. If Harry's impossible timeline already raised eyebrows, Meghan's clash with the press set off the real explosion. She wanted control, she wanted secrecy, and she wanted the narrative to be hers alone.
Why have they simply not made an announcement to the fact that all of the speculation about the children's arrivals?
But the harder she pulled, the more the palace machinery, the press pack, and even medical professionals began to notice the cracks. What should have been a straightforward royal birth announcement turned into a circus of confusion, and that's when the fuse was officially lit. When it comes to royal babies, there's a playbook that has been followed for generations, and it's ironclad. First, the Queen is notified. Then, an official announcement is drafted and circulated. And almost immediately after, the press is alerted so the public can celebrate in real time. It's not just tradition, it's a ritual meant to show stability, trust, and transparency. But when Archie arrived, that entire rulebook might as well have been tossed out the window. Meghan herself gave not one, not two, but three completely different explanations for why the media wasn't informed in the usual way. In one telling, it was about privacy. In another, she claimed there were complications. And then, in yet another version, the story morphed again, leaving even veteran royal reporters shaking their heads. If the truth was simple, why the constant rewrites? The confusion got so bad that some journalists were told Archie had already been born hours before the official announcement, while others received messages that Meghan was still in labor.
You need proof that I'm authentic? I just dropped myself twerking. I have proven that I am authentic because I twerked with my husband in a room.
When in fact, she wasn't. This wasn't just a little mix-up, it was chaos at the palace gates. And in the world of royal reporting, chaos doesn't just happen. Every detail, every step, is usually scripted to the minute. Even palace insiders admitted it felt off. Protection officers, press secretaries, and hospital staff are trained to follow the rules to the letter. Deviations like this don't just pop out of nowhere. They're either deliberate or designed to hide something, and that's exactly why suspicion spread so fast. Was this about Meghan and Harry craving control of the story? Or was there something bigger they didn't want exposed? One insider even mocked the way Meghan handled it, saying, "Put up a camera, fixate it, and then both of you start twerking," because in her mind she was thinking, "I'm gonna release this later in a Netflix doc or show people how relatable I am." Whether fair or not, that kind of commentary shows how Meghan's need to bend tradition didn't just upset the system. It made the birth of Archie feel less like a royal event and more like a media stunt waiting for its big reveal. Think about it. You can always have a sweet private moment with your husband without rolling a camera. So why record it at all? Why in the middle of a hospital delivery room would you hit record? That's the question critics can't stop asking.
If you had those things, it would be very easy just to put them out there and say, this is what happened. This is what it is.
Was it just confusion, a clumsy grab for relatability? Or was it part of a bigger plan to control, or even distort, the narrative of Archie's birth? Because as messy as the press situation already was, it's nothing compared to what gets exposed when you start looking at Portland Hospital itself. And here's where the debate explodes. Do these inconsistencies point to genuine privacy, a sympathy play, or something deeper, possibly even tied to palace strategy? That's the split that fuels this storm. The more you line up the details, the more the story feels like smokescreens stacked on top of one another. Harry's description in his memoir is where the medical world really stepped in. He vividly recalls Meghan receiving 2 epidurals during labor, and instantly, professionals raised their eyebrows. To those unfamiliar, an epidural isn't some quick jab in the arm. It's a delicate, complex procedure. A catheter is carefully threaded near the spinal cord to deliver continuous pain relief. Once it's placed, it stays put, letting doctors adjust dosage safely without ripping it out and starting over. That's why the very idea of Meghan casually receiving 2 epidurals in one short delivery is baffling to experts. Unless something went wrong, something serious, the claim makes no medical sense. And here's the twist. If Harry exaggerated or misstated what happened, then his memoir may have accidentally revealed a far bigger cover-up than anyone expected. Switching catheters mid-labor? That's not a casual medical step. It's rare, risky, and only attempted under unusual circumstances. And even in those cases, it usually means a longer recovery period with meticulous monitoring afterward.
So all of the pictures, my point is, out there were inconsistent with the idea of a real pregnancy.
You don't just swap one epidural for another like you're changing batteries in a remote. It's a procedure that comes with serious risks, from nerve damage to dangerous drops in blood pressure. But Harry's account sweeps past this detail like it's no big deal, almost as if it were routine. That's exactly what critics are blasting. Not only does it ignore medical reality, but it reads like a dramatized retelling crafted for effect. Or worse, a deliberate misrepresentation. And the confusion doesn't stop there. If Meghan really went through a second invasive procedure during labor, then the idea of her bouncing out of Portland Hospital the same day becomes even less believable. Think about it. Multiple epidurals combined with a same-day discharge flat out contradicts standard medical protocols. Hospitals keep new mothers under observation to watch for complications like infection, severe headaches, or even nerve issues. That's non-negotiable. Yet, in Harry's version, Meghan is home within hours, resting as if nothing unusual happened at all. So we're left with an unsettling question. Was this simply Harry misunderstanding medical terminology, or was the story intentionally shaped to sound extraordinary? A glamorous, cinematic version of events? Because with Meghan's pregnancy narrative, every little inconsistency feels like a crack in the wall, and each crack hints there could be something much bigger hidden just out of sight. And then there's the bizarre add-on. Meghan herself once quipped, "You need proof that I'm authentic. I just dropped myself twerking, whether playful or not." Dropping that kind of comment only fueled the critics further, making the whole saga feel even stranger.
I am sorry, but, and genuinely, I don't even mean to attack her. There was something frustrating about her, and I think he hits the nail on the head.
Meghan once joked she was authentic because she twerked with Harry in a room. But childbirth isn't something you just walk away from in a couple of hours. Standard medical practice requires new mothers to be monitored for at least 24 hours, even in smooth deliveries. Vital signs, bleeding, and newborn health checks are non-negotiable. And if complications like preeclampsia are involved, which Meghan herself has suggested, doctors would never release a patient so quickly. This isn't a minor condition. It can trigger seizures, organ damage, and dangerous spikes in blood pressure. Women are usually kept under watch for days, sometimes weeks. Yet Harry's memoir paints Meghan delivering, receiving multiple interventions, and then heading home in the time it takes to watch a feature film. Experts have slammed this as reckless at best, implausible at worst. And the contradiction cuts even deeper, knowing Meghan publicly advocates for maternal health awareness. If her version is true, it undermines her own message. If it's not, then the public's been fed a curated fairy tale that doesn't match reality. Behind the polished royal announcements, Portland hospital staff whispers, "Tell another story." Anonymous employees have flagged odd inconsistencies that don't match Harry's glossy memoir. One scoffed at his claim about ordering late-night gourmet food, pointing out patients don't just summon five-star meals on demand. Then there's the so-called secret elevator Harry described. Staff insist no such escape route exists. Only private corridors, nothing like the dramatic royal getaway he painted. Add to that insider testimony suggesting Meghan's stay was far less dramatic than portrayed, and the cracks in their timeline widen fast. Candace Owens has pounced on these details, arguing if the small stuff collapses under scrutiny, the big claims deserve even harder questioning. Were Meghan and Harry simply embellishing for sympathy, or were they deliberately shaping a fantasy narrative down to the last menu item? Either way, every leak pushes the public further from trust and deeper into suspicion. Were these just misunderstandings, exaggerations, or something far more intentional? By now, the contradictions aren't piling up. They're screaming for answers. If the timeline doesn't match, if the hospital details don't check out, and if insiders keep poking holes in the story, then one question cuts through it all. Why? Was it about control, about chasing sympathy, or about shielding the monarchy itself? Whatever the motive, the result is the same. Every blurred detail feeds suspicion. Candace Owens has tapped straight into that mistrust, and her criticism only amplifies what many were already whispering. Because if Meghan and Harry can't keep their story straight about something as personal as a birth, what else might they be hiding? And there you have it. From memoir contradictions to hospital mysteries, Meghan's pregnancy story is stacked with details that just don't line up. Whether it was sloppy storytelling or a carefully crafted narrative, the truth feels buried under layers of confusion. Candace Owens may have stirred the pot, but her commentary only amplified what people have been whispering for years. The timelines clash, the details shift, and trust keeps slipping away. But here's the kicker. This pregnancy saga isn't the only scandal circling Meghan. If you thought this was wild, just wait until you hear what her own father, Thomas Markle, has revealed about her real age. That bombshell could change everything. So don't click away yet. Hit like, smash subscribe, and check out our next video to see how deep this story really runs. See you in the next one.